What's up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. I hope you guys had a Merry Christmas. Got to spend a lot of time with your family and friends. We did. We had an awesome time. We got back from Cleetus' race, and that was a long ride. It's like 700 miles each way. But it was interesting on our way back. About every 75 miles, I had to stop and put power steering fluid in the reservoir. I developed a massive power steering leak on the way back. So that was interesting, but luckily we made it home. The truck and the trailer are covered in transmission fluid. So I got the power steering pump replaced. The pump was bad and it had a leaking line. But man, now I got to go clean up the truck. Today I'm going to show you our runs that we had down at Cleetus's. We tried to go that 699, but it just didn't quite happen. I didn't hold it full throttle all the way. It's hard. It really is, guys. I mean, quarter mile is a long ways. It's amazing how people that run quarter mile all the time, I can see what they're saying. You know, going from quarter mile car to an eighth mile car, it seems like you're just at a half track. You are. I mean, but, you know, going from an eighth mile to a quarter mile, it seems like it's another additional half mile. It's not just an additional eighth. It's hard. And so, but when we raced Cleetus, I knew he was going to make a full trip, and I knew I was going to make a full trip also. And I was going to toenail it, and we were going to keep it, and we were going to go that 7.0, 7.10 range, I think. I don't think we had quite 6.99 in it. But let me show you the time slips. I'm going to show you the data logs and what we need to do next time we decide to go quarter mile. All right, guys, comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate y'all joining in. Check this out. And check this out, guys. This is our newest shirt coming out. Kelly done a fantastic job putting this shirt together. Awesome concept. I love it. Pre-order these now to make sure we get your size in. Well, guys, just like everything I own is junk. So we got the power steering fixed, and I thought I was good. And I have a tuner on the truck. And so I had the tuner in the maximum horsepower setting, trying to increase fuel mileage. And apparently the transmission was not happy about that. So it broke, I think it broke the input shaft. It went to shift. I got on it a little harder than what I probably should have within that much horsepower setting. And yeah, it was not a happy camper. It lost every gear. So we're gonna tow it back to Brian's real fast. Take the transmission out tomorrow and see what's broken. Brian thinks probably the input shaft and probably, hopefully, maybe the torque converter, and that's it. Never ending. Isn't it, Kelly?
Never ending.
Never ending.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
All right, guys. So this was our first pass. We got the tune-up information. We got all the suspension data from our passes when we were at Thunder Valley. So we input that into the car. We set a tune that was a little bit similar to that one, but just a little bit slower. We knew the track was going to be in pretty good shape, but it's like always, when you change from a slick to a radial or from a radial to a slick, you have to make sure that it's right. This was off the trailer. They did have some private testing during the day, but I chose not to do that just because a lot of times when you're private testing, it goes bad and you break stuff in the testing, and I didn't want to do that. So I was pretty confident we were going to be okay. So we loaded the tune up in the car, and you see we left on 12 pounds of dome pressure here, and we had a pretty conservative ramp in it. This is actually the last pass. It was from 12 pounds of dome pressure to 60 pounds at 2.6 seconds. And of course, we built us a drive shaft data curve based on what we thought was going to be okay. The biggest thing is I had to stretch the seconds out here. So this was kind of a guess on what we were going to get done and what was going to actually happen. And so it's one of those things, it's trial and error, right? And so we got out there, we made the pass. Let me show you the data log. This is the actual data log. We got out there, and, you know, quarter mile, it freaked me out last time. And I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. Quarter mile, we just don't do it a lot. So I had a lot of things on my mind when we were going. First thing we got up here, though, you can see the boost. We left on about 7.5 to 7.6, 7.7 pounds of boost. And so it was doing its thing. And now, granted, this is still the Hughes converter that has the no prep stator in it. So I was hoping that we were going to get some lockup out the back door. Didn't know if it was going to happen or not just because of the way it was. Converter flashes up. And so about a 7,000 RPM flash there, which is good. Pretty easy on the tire. And so it comes up, rolls up, and then I got a little nervous, and I short shifted it. I was supposed to shift it. It was shifting itself at 8,300, but I ended up short shifting it. It comes up, and then it kind of lays on the converter right here. And so this is what I was hoping was going to happen. The green line here is drive shaft data, and you can see there was a couple spots in the run where you can see it kind of slip the tire a little bit. I could actually feel that in the car. And this pass here, you can see I actually blipped the throttle here too. And it's because traction control didn't catch it because my graph was a little too high. And so this didn't actually hit it. So I felt this in the car, and then I pedaled because I knew that traction control may or may not be catching it. And so I didn't want anything crazy to happen, but it did. The track was good, so it caught itself. And then it done it again out here. But you can see we went through the finish line not under power. And we went fast. We went a 470 to the eighth mile, 154 mile per hour, 116 and 311, for 60-foot time into 330. We let off. If you look at these numbers over here, we actually cracked gas right here. So 5.9 seconds, I think it is. Was off 5.8, 5.9 seconds. We actually cracked gas. I don't know what this RPM blip is going up there. But you can see we're starting to get some converter lock. And even with me lifting here at before 6 seconds into run, it went a 609 to the 1,000 foot, 752 at 144 miles per hour. So when you get over here and you look at the increments, I mean, that thing was pretty doggone fast for what it was. I mean, it was real fast to the eighth mile. I was hoping it was going to be about a 455, 457 here, but clearly the Christmas tree on top of it, the aerodynamics, there was one of the videos you could actually see the deck lid was really bouncing up and down, and so that was a problem. So feeling a little confident with the car. I mean, I was happy with it. So I was like, okay, well, cool deal. That wasn't too bad. Oil pressure was good. Timing was good. Boost was good. We had 42 pounds of boost essentially. And there's our boost curve there. Well, let's go into the second pass. All right, guys, so here we go. This is what we did on the second pass. We didn't make many changes. Turnaround time was very fast, 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes tops here. It was quick. And so the only change I made is instead of having a 2.6 second ramp, I had a 2.4 second ramp. And so that 2.4 second ramp was just a little more aggressive. And I was like, okay, I think that'll be good. I think it'll go down. I don't think we'll have any issues. So we drew Doug with Motion Race Works. And so, we got out there and we, the car run good. I was going to try to hold it a little bit further out. And so didn't do anything early. So it should have left with about the same amount of boost. And you can see it did 7.5, 7.6, 7.7 pounds of boost. This is my rolling two-step that we talk about all the time, and this is just where it's pulling timing out to maintain the boost level. And you see that works like a champ. I mean, the boost is pretty steady here. So there again, we don't have a way to really cool off our transmission in between rounds, and so this thing takes off. The ramp is a little bit more aggressive, so it should have been a little bit faster to the 60-foot, but it was not. It actually slowed down to the 60-foot. It went a 119, and I think that was just simply because transmission fluid was hotter, so it's not as thick. Converter is not going to couple as much. It's going to be a little bit looser. So we let it go out here. You can see the red line here. That is the shift. It actually did its own thing. I kept my hand off of the shifter, and so it shifted at 8,600. I think I had it coming on at 83 or 84. It's always a couple hundred RPM, back. Maybe I did raise that 100 RPM too, but it falls back 8,000 RPM, and we were a little bit over 2 seconds into the run there. And I could feel this down track here too. And you see it still traction control didn't grab it any here. We got this one little spot where traction control did grab here. So we were pretty close on our graph. And, from the first run to the second one, I imported it. So I was able to get it a little bit close, but it wasn't still quite tweaked enough. So it missed these. But I could feel it going down track hitting these. And it was fine, though. It didn't feel like it was terrible, out of control. And you can see the converter is locking up. But the biggest thing is the converter is not just flashing straight up. The converter is starting to get to its natural, locking RPM is what's happening here. And so we get out there, we run it out. So I was ahead of Doug pretty good, and I was like, okay, well, there's not really any need to run it all the way out the quarter again. But I did stay on it just a little bit longer. About 0.2 of a second longer is what I stayed on the gas. And you see, we went out. So if you look at the slip here, and it's going to show you the converter is tightening up the further we go. A 355 gear into rear end, 1-to-1 out the back. With this torque converter, I think we could have made the quarter mile under power. And so that was a good pass. I was really happy with the pass. Not bad at all. 119, 312. Still went a 470 flat, even though it slowed down 0.03 of a second here to the 60 foot. Mile per hour was about the same. It actually picked up, I think, almost 1 mile per hour. 609, which we let off right at the 1,000 foot mark again. But since we did hold it just a little while longer, it went a 736 at 163. And so I was really excited about that. And if you look at it, we got mile per hour logging down here as well. And so you can see the mile per hour when we actually went through, we got as high as 170 mile per hour, which was, it's getting close to the finish line there. But, the real question is how much mile per hour could we have gained if we'd have stayed on the gas another second? Let's see what we gained right here. 167 at 6 seconds. So let's go down to 5 seconds and just see. And this may not be exactly the same. I gained 13 mile per hour there. So from 5 seconds to 6 seconds. So 13 mile per hour. If you go 13 at our peak there, I mean, that would have been about 185-ish, which it may have picked up a little bit more than that. It looks like that was kind of following the same graph, though. So I don't know. I was really excited about that pass. We got back to the pits. They were literally like, we were the first pair down, and they were, there was only 5 cars left at this point. And so we got the car pushed back to the pits. So by the time we got the car pushed back to the pits, the other cars that run, they had all driven their cars back to the staging lanes or to their pit stalls. And so they were calling us for our third round chip draw. And so at that point, we were, they were turning us around fast, which they told us they were. This class is kind of designed for street cars, not race cars, or the drag and drive cars is what, almost everybody was. That's currently not my setup. That's not what my car is capable of doing. So we rolled into the third round. We drew Cleetus, and so we were racing the mullet. And so this pass right here, I was like, okay, that's a pretty decent pass. That's pretty strong. I was like, but we're going to have to go ahead. Have to keep the pedal to the metal. We're going to keep it toe-nailed, and we're going to go hopefully about a 710, maybe a 7.0 if we're lucky, if we can hold it all the way through, maybe that 185, 190 mile per hour. My goal was to go 699 at 200, but with that stator in that converter, that's just not going to be possible unless I wanted to turn the boost way up, which I didn't want to do. I was pretty comfortable with that 42 pounds of boost. Now I've run 46, 40, 45, 46, 47 pretty easily, and it would go 158, 159 mile per hour, but I just didn't want to do that in quarter mile trim. All right, let's look at the last pass. So here we go. This is our last pass. We got the mullet, so I knew I was going to have to go pretty good. Turnaround time was fast. The only change I made, I was very simple. I left on the same amount of dome pressure. We went ahead and we did decrease the boost ramp to 2.2 seconds. And so that just basically, it should have went just a tad faster, maybe like a 468, maybe 467 to the 8th mile. And so I was really trying to get that 7.0, that 710 pass. And so we got out there, we let go of the trans brake button. This is the data log. You can see when it left, it come up on the converter fine. It spooled up, not an issue. His spooled up a little faster than mine. Mine takes a second to get going, and especially when, after it gets warm. As soon as like my motor doesn't have quite as much good ring seal anymore, so that's something we're going to be working on. So as soon as it gets on the two-step though pretty good, it goes ahead and starts making boost. And you can also see there was a little bit of smoke coming out when we were spooling it too. But it left about the same, 7.7, 7.6. When we let go of the trans brake button, is right there, 7.4, 7.5. So you get this little lug, this little drop just a tad. It comes up and boom, it starts tire shaking to death. And so it quickly comes up. Traction control was doing its thing, trying to get it under control. And you can see right here when it first did it. I mean, RPM was, up, and then it caught it. It started tire shaking, and then I pedaled it. And I don't know on a radial if it would have recovered itself or not. That's interesting. It looks like it may have actually recovered. Maybe I should have stayed in it. I've never had traction control on a radial before. So it comes up, pulls timing out, pulls some cylinders out of it to knock it into teeth. And you can see it does exactly what it's supposed to. 6,700, and then boom, it turns it down. It gets down to 5,100 RPM. And then at that point, I still have not lifted. At that point, the RPM starts coming back up where it's starting back to accelerate. And then I pedal it. And so I pedal it. It kind of recovers. That's something interesting. Next time it goes into tire shake, if I've got a pretty decent drive shaft data, I might just hold it and see if it'll actually take it through. It may have recovered. And so it recovered here, and then it gets out there and starts shaking again. And you can see the timing, the traction control is going to do what it does. It's pulling timing out, and then it starts dropping cylinders as well because it's not getting it under control on the graph. And then I pedaled it there, and that's when there was a big fireball at the bottom. And then I got back on it out here, and then it had recovered at this point, but went out there and it did shift. It was kind of high on the shift point, 8,700 RPM, and I don't know if I don't remember raising that, so it may have just been the delay in the shifter. But it spins the tire a little bit here, but the car was pushing hard to the right, and so with it pushing hard to the right, I was getting close to the center line. Garrett was gone. I mean, he was way out there at that point. We're a little bit past half track, and so I just eased off the gas and then finally just let off completely out here at a little bit over 4 seconds into the run. So he blasted through and I think he's went a 740 something, and I just kick rocks here, so I don't even think I put any data in there. But so we missed it, and of course, if y'all saw the video, y'all saw what happened. The whole problem was I forgot to dump the catch can. And so the catch can dumped a little bit of oil in front of the tires. It's actually quite a bit of oil. Most of it didn't get on the track, but there was enough that got on the track to where it just lost traction on the left wheel, and and it caused a tire shake. So it is what it is. We had a good time. We had a blast. But, hopefully next time we go down there, Rick Prospero is going to be hard to beat. I'm sure Garrett and all them boys will be faster next year too. But hopefully the new car next year, maybe we can get that 6-second pass. I think this last pass here with the tune-up we had in it, if it would have stuck, I think we could have probably taken Garrett out. We left the tree about the same time. It was going to be a good race. All right, guys, comment, like, and subscribe. We'll see y'all soon. Go fast and get some win lights. Thanks, guys.